With spring training winding down, the Baltimore's have so many decisions, including who will make their opening day roster. And Brandon Hyde has a very important decision coming up this spring. Welcome to Orioles Digest. I'm your host, Kam Brice, and it feels good to be back. Sorry, guys. Long vacation. I'm back every day with daily updates, but you know how I say every video? Hit that subscribe button. If you're a parts percentage, let's change that today. Come join Orioles Digest. I'm giving you daily updates with the Baltimore Orioles every single day that you don't want to miss. Now, spring training is almost over, and the Baltimore Orioles season starts in 3 weeks. Now, I know we've had a lot of injuries going on with Grayson Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, Andrew Kittredge, and fans across the world, across the U.S., are unsure about how the Baltimores are going to play out the season. Will they be a playoff team? Will they even make the playoffs? There's so many questions going on with this team. But today, I'm going to get into what I think could be the opening day roster for this team. So without further ado, let's get into our first topic of the day. Which position players will make the opening day roster? Now, we have a lot of players on the Baltimore, a lot of people fighting for shortstop, third base. Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo are fighting for that last spot in first base DH position. But you know what? Around the diamond. So I was looking at different types of articles online, and I found one from the Birds Watcher. If you guys don't know who this company is, they talk about the Baltimore's every single day. They drop publications, articles, everything that you need to know. And they gave a good aspect of how the Baltimore Orioles roster will look like in 2025. And I want to reiterate it to you guys. At catcher, we have Adley Rutschman. First base, Ryan Mountcastle, which I agree with. Second base, Jordan Westburg. Shortstop, Jackson Holliday. Let's remember, Gunnar Henderson is expected to come back by opening day, but if he doesn't, that's going to force Jackson Holliday to be a shortstop because he knows that position. Jordan Westburg knows second base, so I feel like this is a good position. This is Holliday's natural position. Third base, Ramon Urias. Right field, Heston Kjerstad. Center field, Cedric Mullins. Left field, Colton Cowser. And DH, Ryan O'Hearn. The one thing I'm unsure about this is, where's Tyler O'Neill? I know he had a ribcage injury, but he'll make the opening day roster. He'll be healthy. And I don't think you sign a guy to a 2-year, almost $50 million contract, you're not going to start him. Tyler O'Neill's a starter in this league. He's going to be in left field. Sorry for Heston Kjerstad and all the fans out there, but Heston Kjerstad will not be a starter come opening day. Now, the rest of his team, I completely agree with. Jordan Westburg at second, Jackson Holliday at shortstop. Now, if Jorge Mateo was healthy, Jorge Mateo can go to third. Jorge Mateo can go to second. Jorge Mateo can go to shortstop. There are so many different positions that the Baltimore's could have went with, but Jorge Mateo's not healthy. Gunnar Henderson's not healthy. So if they start the season and Gunnar Henderson's oblique injury has not fully healed, he'll start the season on this 15-day IL. I don't think it's a really serious injury that will implicate his status for the whole season of 2025, but it's just something to be precautious with. Now, DH Ryan O'Hearn, I know a lot of people want to talk about Kobe Mayo. He has not performed at all this spring training. He's been turning it up the last 2 games, but I feel like he's going to be stuck in the minors once again. I've talked about it before, but hey, I think the Orioles honestly trade Kobe Mayo right now and get what you want with him. The Baltimore is going to risk sending him up, wasting the roster spot for him to succeed, for him to develop, and it's taking longer than they expected. So if you want to trade Kobe Mayo for ace and help your team push the playoff push, I would be okay with that. But at the end of the day, you want to keep Kobe Mayo, keep him in AAA, develop, hope he can turn into a star one day. Without further ado, let's get into our next topic of the day. Orioles bullpen. I'm going to talk about why this bullpen is going to be so dangerous this year. Yeah. Guys, I know we lost Andrew Kittredge and looking like it's going to be for the whole season. I'm not sure, but it's just pretty sad. We went out and got a guy that was supposed to be another veteran guy that you plug in and could be very dominant in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. But hey, still have Keegan Aiken. Not really that strong about Brian Baker. I don't think he has much to prove. I just don't think he's that guy. I feel like Chase McDermott would have made this team over Brian Baker if Chase never got hurt and was dealing with arm fatigue during the spring. And I still think Chase will be in the bullpen at some point this season, but he'll have to start in AAA, ramp his arm back up, and that'll kind of be his spring training because he's missed a lot of action this spring. You're near Cano. We're going to talk about him a little deeper. I'm going to tell that into Félix Bautista. Dylan Coleman has been okay this spring. Sir Anthony Dominguez, he was good last year. Hope he improves. Ciano Perez didn't give up a home run last year. ERA was still kind of high, but he's another guy that you can depend on. Gregory Soto, proven guy. Albert Suarez. Now, a lot of people want to talk about how they're going to use Albert Suarez this year. Last year, he was very good in the start rotation. One of the Orioles' most unsung heroes of the season. He helped his team out so much in that start rotation position. I don't think he has enough to go another full season pitching over 70, 80 innings as a starting pitcher. I think you get up to Cade. Povich has been way better this spring. Cade has been the Orioles' best pitcher, and there's no doubt that he's going to be in that starting rotation. But talking about Albert, I feel like you can put him in that long relief position. If a guy doesn't go 5 or 6 innings, put Albert from that 5 to 7 spot and let him go 2 to 3 innings. That's another key contribution that you have to your team. But talking about the bullpen, you're looking at a guy, you're probably wondering, like, why is Félix Bautista now here? Well, Felix, I believe, honestly, and the Birds watcher believes, I feel like Felix will start on a 10-day, 15-day IL to begin the season. It's not because of injury, it's just because they're going to try to ramp him up. We see the stuff is there. The velocity is not there yet, and I think that's the main concern. They want the velocity to look like how it was back a couple years ago for Felix Bautista to come up. Now, could he still make the opening day roster and still make some appearances? Yes, but that's wasting another spot. There are so many other spots that you can go to. Remember, the opening day roster is very limited on spots. So if you don't put Felix and guys like Gunnar Henderson in there now, 2 weeks later, you can insert them in the starting lineup, move some guys down to AAA, DFA some guys, do different types of scenarios. But talking about Yunier Cano, we remember when it was Yunier Cano and Félix Bautista. The 8th inning, it was Cano's spot. 9th was Félix Bautista. That was when its bullpen was the best bullpen in baseball. Felix and Cano was a really dominant duo. I think we lost that last year with Yunier because he didn't have that guy to come out in the closer position to dominate, or Cano was put in difficult spots because he's not a closer, let's be honest. He's not a closer for this guy. He's a setup guy. He's an 8th inning guy. But when they put him in that 6th, 7th role, in too many high leverage situations, that's when he doesn't succeed. When he has a couple days, we can go low leverage situation, and you put him in a high leverage situation here and there. I feel like this bullpen could really succeed. I really think this Orioles bullpen is going to be very good this year. We'll just have to see. We have high trust in Keegan Aiken. He's been very good this spring. He was very good last season. I expect another improved year from him. Yunier Cano, Dylan Coleman, I feel like he's going to be really good. Anthony Dominguez, I'm very high on, has amazing stuff. He just has to stay consistent. But the Orioles bullpen is good right now. We talked about depth this season. They don't have depth in the starting rotation, but they have depth in the bullpen, and that's honestly what matters. But let's get to the start rotation, and that's the last topic of the day. Should we be concerned for the Baltimore start rotation this year? If you look at the start rotation and you ask someone blindfolded, Zach Eflin, Charlie Morton, Dean Kramer, Sagano, K. Povich, is that top 15? Is that barely cracking top 20 in the majors right now? A lot of these guys have something to prove. We saw Zach Eflin last year. He was very good. Charlie Morton, very old guy, cannot be a number 2 in your rotation. Dean Kramer, he's a 4 or 5 type in a very good rotation. That's been a guy that the Baltimores have been breaking on to improve ever since his, I want to say, around his 3rd or 4th season. That was when he had a career year. But ever since then, he hasn't been that good. Last year, he was pretty okay, but he got inconsistent as the season moved on. Sagano, it's funny that Sagano can actually win Rookie of the Year, depending on his age. He's older than half of all these guys. He's been one of the best pitchers in Japan. He's coming over to the American League, and it's like, okay, you can still win AL Rookie of the Year. Sagano's just been amazing this spring. You see it. He's been very good. He's been dominant. The stuff's not there. He might not throw 98, 99, but his stuff is electric. He gets guys off of bases, pop-ups, not deep flyouts, low ground balls, pitches around guys, and he's a catcher's pitcher. He does everything a catcher want. I think him and Adley Rutschman, and also him and Gary Sanchez will be a great duo. It's going to be very interesting to see, do they go Adley with Sagano or Gary? I'm pretty sure they'll go Adley mostly with Sagano, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go Gary a lot too. Dean Kramer, I hope for an improved year. I talked about this on a podcast earlier. If you guys don't follow the podcast, search it up on YouTube. It's Let's Talk About It podcast. Let's talk about all MLB, NFL, NBA, anything you want to have. And I talked about how I think Dean Kramer will be the most improved pitcher in the Orioles this year. I feel like he has a chip on his shoulder. Big year coming for him. He wants a new contract. He wants to stay in the Baltimore Orioles. He doesn't want to get traded. Doesn't want to be a free agent, anything else like that. So I feel like Dean could be that guy to step up, possibly be that two behind Zach Kaplan while Grayson Rodriguez is returning from injury. And I think Grayson will be back by most likely the end of April. And if he's not back by the end of April, then that's something to worry about because a UCL injury is very serious and something to not fool around with. Now, Cade, I've talked about this plenty of past videos. I think Cade could be very good in this league, could be very dominant. He's been very good this spring. The thing with Cade is if he can keep developing and just keep being the young pitcher that he is and keep going out there, getting outs, being consistent, not walk a lot of guys, he can be one of the best pitchers in this rotation. I feel like he could possibly be a future ace. Hey, we all thought about Grayson Rodriguez. He is talented to be a future ace. Cade also, we've seen it. This is going to be the year that Cade breaks out. I'm not sure if Cade is a rookie this year. If anyone can correct me, I think he broke his limit for his rookie threshold last season, so he wouldn't be considered a rookie this season. But Cade's going to have a very good year. Star rotation, I guess, is pretty bad, but I'm not going to say anything until I see results throughout the first month of the season. And then we can go back and say, hey, Cam, you were completely wrong. They should have went out and just throw the whole prospect list for a pitcher. But hey, we never know. Thank you for joining us today. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on post notifications. Me and John will give you daily updates with the Baltimore Orioles every single day that you don't want to miss. From Orioles Digest, I'm your host, Kam Brice.